Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we're super happy to have you here. And if you've been listening and enjoying for a while, I would be super grateful if you would please take a moment to give us a review on Apple Podcasts. It's one of the best and simplest ways to pay it forward and help others find the show so that they too can tap into the powerful perspectives and positive vibrations we are collectively emanating. The other unique and magical way to share this show is by sending any friends you think would benefit from listening to this podcast our Game with the Universe link at positivehead.com/game. Also listed in the show notes, which will serve them up a quote-unquote random episode when they click it. Just instruct them before clicking the link to close their eyes for a moment and sincerely ask the universe to cue up the episode that contains the insight and perspectives that they most need to hear at this point in their life journey, and then click to listen to whatever episode is synchronistically served up to them. I have heard time and time again from people about the incredible results they received playing the game. So just tell your friends magical results are guaranteed or their karma back. All right, all you positive heads, welcome, welcome. Here we grow again. It is a magical Monday here in the studio as I record. And I want to talk a little bit today about courage. And I was inspired by a quote that I saw the other day. It said, "Life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage." What a powerful perspective. Life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. And, I always say if something scares you and it excites you, it's probably for you. And a big part of all of our journeys, I believe, here in this life is to step up and to face those trepidations, those fears, which can lead us down two paths, FEAR, forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. And I fully agree with the perspective that if playing it safe is the most dangerous thing you can do if you want to have a fulfilling life. And that doesn't mean taking undue, risks, or as I saw Jordan Peterson talking about this, taking risks in a naive way. You want to calculate what you're doing. You don't want to be foolish and unintelligent and reckless. And you want to, be willing to know and understand within yourself when it's the time to step up and meet the challenge, right? And for us to, I think, feel really fulfilled as people, we need to be able to tap into that courage and have seen that courage in ourselves. Think of the times you've been courageous and then how you felt about yourself afterwards, right? And so this is an important part of becoming a person that you love and are proud of and feel good about being is. And there's always been those instances for each of us. We have at least some memories where we didn't step into our highest and greatest self. We let the fear take the wheel and drive, as the Incubus song talks about. Just pops into my head from many years ago, and that's okay too. That is a part of the journey. You're not going to fully appreciate when you're being courageous if you can't know what it's like to not be courageous, right? And so going into, as Jordan was talking about when I was hearing him talk about this the other day, going into the land of the stranger, going into that new relationship, that new job, that new, perspective, that new path, a new way of dealing with something. This takes courage. And think about courage, as Terence McKenna says, my favorite quote of all time. He said, "Nature loves courage. You make the commitment and nature will respond to that commitment by removing impossible obstacles. Dream the impossible dream and the world will not grind you under, it will lift you up. This is the trick. This is what all these teachers and philosophers who really counted, who really touched the alchemical gold, this is what they understood. This is the shamanic dance in the waterfall. This is how magic is done, by hurling yourself into the abyss and discovering it's a feather bed. So powerful, such a potent, powerful perspective to, because at some point it's a leap of faith, right? It's inevitable that you're going to have to, once again, another old song, George Michael, reach out and touch faith, right? And if you're not doing that, if you're living safely on the shore with fear being your primary motivator, you're not tapped into you're more tapped into paranoia than pronoia, the opposite of paranoia, which is the idea that life is conspiring in your favor, no matter what comes. Being pronoia, having pronoia, what a difference in life that will lead you to. The slight differences that it's something to be fearful of, or, and once again, back to the two choices, fear or love, right? Love is the absence of fear. Love is when you are trusting your life and appreciating your life and appreciating even the challenges. And this is the difference between fear. Think of what it does to your body, right? It's contract when you're in fight or flight. We know physiologically, everything's contracting. It's the opposite of expansion. And when you're in courageous, you're being your most courageous self. You're trusting, even though your voice may shake. You're speaking the truth. You're taking the step. And this is going to be directly proportional to how your life shrinks or expands. And the good news is that if you have been playing it safe or living more in fear, every moment is another chance to turn it all around. You can go into the land of the stranger. You can begin to face the future without worries. As this short clip, actually, I'm going to go ahead and share now by Wayne Dyer. It's called "How to Face the Future Without Worries," where he talks about just that. Take a listen.
How do you use your present moments? See, anytime you use up your present moment, or anytime that you are thinking anxious thoughts, you're denying the present. You're using up the present moment instead of using it up in a productive, peaceful, serene, calm way. You are somehow believing that you can't get through this day or this moment any other way, that if I don't think about it and worry about it and be anxious about it. But the fact is, it's going to get done. Your taxes are going to get done. You're not going to jail. You're not the kind of person who's going to opt to just simply not do your taxes. You're going to get the diapers. You're going to get the report done. All of that you're going to get done. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in the position that you're in. You would be doing something else, all right? Worry is using up the present moment to be immobilized about something that's going to happen. You don't worry about the past. You feel guilty about the past. Guilt is about the past in the present. Worry is about the future in the present. Remember, everything is experienced now, in the present moment. And again, the payoff for worry is, what could I be doing in this moment if I weren't worrying? And then you say, well, my worry is keeping me from doing these things, taking this action, changing this behavior, moving on in a new direction, getting out of that relationship, whatever. Now, people worry about everything. People worry about their health. People worry about their children. They worry about dying. They worry about their job and the economy and having a heart attack and security and everybody else's happiness. And am I doing the right thing? And the prices and whether the economy is going to collapse and accidents and what if I have one and what do other people think about me and my weight and my money and my car breaking down and my bills and my parents maybe getting sick or getting into heaven or what if there's no God, or the weather, or getting old, or flying, or my daughter's virginity, or talking in front of groups, or going into the city. And even the most neurotic of all is worrying about having nothing to worry about, which I've had people do. I don't have anything to worry about, but then that's what worries me, because I just know that when I don't have anything to worry about, then something's going to go bad, and there they go off again. Now, here's the greatest piece of advice that any human being could ever receive. I know that sounds a little bit on the conceited side, but it is the most important advice that you could ever get about worry. Listen carefully. It makes no sense to worry about the things that you have no control over, because if you have no control over them, it makes no sense to worry about them, right? If you have no control over something, getting older or dying or getting into heaven or whatever it may be, then worrying about it isn't going to do you any good. So it makes no sense to worry about the things you have no control over, because if you have no control over them, it makes no sense to worry about them. And it makes no sense to worry about the things that you do have control over, because if you've got control over them, it makes no sense to worry about them. And there goes everything you could ever worry about in your life. If you don't have control, you relax and you flow and you let it go. You just let it go. Worrying about something you have no control over makes absolutely no sense. And if you do have control over it, then take control. Whatever it is that you want to do, if you're afraid of flying in an airplane, you have control over that. There are trains available, there are cars available, there are courses and ways to go about learning how to eliminate your fear of flying, and so on. So you can either do something about it, or you can choose not to do something about it. And either way, it isn't going to make any difference in your life if you choose to worry. It just doesn't help anything. So once you learn that, you can begin to assess this whole business of why you would choose guilt or worry in your life. And again, you look back over and over and over again at it, and you dissect it, and you tear it all apart, and you go to your analyst, and you spend 1,000 years in therapy, and you find out that everything that you experience in your life, you experience in the present moment, the working unit of your life, and you experience it in the now for a reason. If you choose guilt, or if you choose worry, you cannot be active and creative and fulfilled and changing and doing all kinds of good and exciting things for yourself in your life now if you are occupying your now with worry and guilt. And if you think that worry is something that you just inherited, or it's something that your parents passed on to you, and it's something that you just can't do anything about, begin to practice. Do things like I always tell people, just worry. Just sit there. I used to tell my patients over and over again, just sit there and worry. Show me what you're doing when you're worrying. And you begin to see how silly it is. It's just a mental exercise that is all caught up in this silliness. And all the things that you ever worry about. There's a wonderful old saying that says, I'm an old man and I've had many troubles, most of which have never happened. And the most of which have never happened is all the worries. You get all these worries and you see them coming at you, and you, oh my goodness, what's gonna happen? I'm gonna get audited by the IRS. I remember the first time I ever got audited by the IRS, and I talked about it, and I was playing this same silly game, worrying about it and whatever. And then I went through and it was a very pleasant experience. And I actually ended up getting a little bit more money, a little more of a refund. All of this concern, all of this time, all of this energy over something that wasn't, and it's happened to me many times. I've been through that process, and I don't worry about those things anymore. Now I have people in my life who handle those things, and I don't occupy my mind with that. And I do the same thing with my children, and I have 7 beautiful children, and I watch them grow up, and I know that there's all kinds of pitfalls and things out there that can have, but I can't keep my eye on every one of my children all day long when they're in school or when they're in their jobs or when they're in their relationships or whatever. I simply can't do that. So I have the choice. Am I going to sit around all day long and worry about each one of those children and whether or not they're going to be in any danger? Or am I going to just raise them to be as careful and productive as they possibly can, and know that I can't do anything about that? And this isn't to say that I'm unconcerned. It is to say that I refuse to use my life filling it up with worry over things that I can't do anything about. I just can't go that way. And you don't have to either. Just like guilt has the notion that there's a difference between guilt and learning from the past. You do something, and instead of feeling guilty about it, you learn from it. Worry is one thing, and preparing yourself for the future is something quite different. But again, preparing yourself or planning for the future is still something that takes place in the now. So what you want to learn to do is to enjoy it in the now instead of trying to live it 2 months from now or 3 months from now. Enjoy the planning process. If you're going to have a vacation 3 months from now, that's a very enjoyable process. All of that planning and all of the activity that goes into it and all the expectations and then the anticipation of what that's going to be like, that's one of the most joyful things about a vacation. All of that planning part. That isn't worry. Worry is when you are immobilized. The key word to define an erroneous zone is, does it immobilize me in the present? And if the answer is yes, then it's something I want to get rid of.
Anytime you're thinking about anxious thoughts, you're denying the present. It's I've said it many times on the show, worry is a poor use of imagination. You've got this precious creative gift that makes up your being. You are the creator and created rolled into one. And what are you going to create? You're going to create, worrisome thoughts. And especially if you're really imaginative, those can get, now for me, that was a big part of even my journey with plant medicines and things, is facing some of this vivid imagination, and fearful things would come up. And it's spending the present moment. It's spending it in a way that really paralyzes you, right? And what would you do if you had all that bandwidth? I love how he talks about the greatest piece of advice, and it's so potent and powerful. I've heard this before. It makes no sense to worry about the things you have no control over. Think about it. What a waste of resources, valuable energy. If you can't control it, there's no, you might as well just go with the flow, ride the waves of whatever, and trusting the mystery of what life will bring, right? And if it also makes no sense to worry about the things you do have control over, because if you don't like them, then just you have control, make a change. So really, either scenario, whether you control or don't have control or don't control, there's no point in performing this silly mental exercise, as he put it. And I love how he says, look, I'm an old man and I've had many troubles, most of which have never happened. The future never comes quite as you imagine. The past isn't quite as you imagined really either. And so if you're imagining this vivid, fearful thought of the future, the fact that you're thinking of it and thinking it up is a good indicator that it's not going to, how rarely do things turn out exactly like you imagine when you think about your worries, right? Think of all your worries over the years. And so just really, refusing to fill up your life with the things you can't control, just making that is it. That is what I'm doing. I'm not going to do this anymore. And I'm going to appreciate what's happening now. I'm going to always honor the present by fully being here. And even the opposite of worry, a lot of times looking excitedly to the future, I can't wait until the vacation. He talked about a vacation here. Don't dishonor the present. The journey is the goal. The planning is beautiful, right? And, just bringing yourself fully into the present is in knowing that I always will have whatever I need to get me through. And, I may not see 20 steps ahead, 50 steps ahead, 5 steps ahead, but I can figure out what to do next. And just that moving into that trust that, you know what, I'm not going to be immobilized in the present with worry. I'm going to annihilate that from my experience, and instead just, okay, what do I got? What resources are here? Where can I navigate to from here next? Knowing full well that I am going to have what I need. I always have. Everything has proven up to this point. You've always had what you need to get you through. And if you didn't like something, it passes, right? And if you love something, it passes. So another good reason to be right back in the present and fully appreciate. And this is the path. This is the way. And it's time for all of us to expand in proportion to our courage. It's time for you to step into the more courageous version of yourself. You are ready. You would not be hearing these words if you weren't. I am proud of you. I hope you're proud of you too. I do have a song to leave you with. This is one of my favorite artists. Just came out with some new music, Frameworks. This song is called 22. Till next time, journey well.